All right, welcome back. Today we're jumping into something huge. I mean, it's one of the most ambitious, just mind-bending thought experiments I've ever seen. We're talking about a blueprint for the operating system of reality itself.
Okay, let's just dive right in with a big question. Forget about, designing a simple app or a website. Think way, way bigger. What if you were tasked with designing the software that runs our entire future? The code that underpins everything. Society, AI, maybe even civilization as we know it?
Well, that massive idea, that's the core of what's called OntoOmnia. Now, to be clear, this isn't some software you can just go and install. It's a conceptual meta operating system. The best way to think about it is like this giant open-source thought experiment. It's a shared language, a framework for building systems that can learn, adapt, and just evolve all on their own. So, okay, like any OS, the one on your phone, your laptop, whatever, OntoOmnia has a core architecture. Let's break down the essential building blocks, see how this whole thing is supposed to tick. First up, we've got something called OntoDNA. And yeah, they're really leaning into the biological metaphor here, which is pretty cool. OntoDNA is basically the genetic code for anything in the system. Could be an AI, an organization, even a set of ethical rules. It defines its core identity, its traits. And just like real DNA, it can be passed down, it can mutate, and it can evolve over time. It's the absolute foundation.
Okay, so if OntoDNA is the genetic blueprint, what runs on it? Well, that's where metafamilies come in. Think of these as the apps for society. Each metafamily is a specialized module built to handle one specific thing. So you'd have, say, an ethics family for moral reasoning, an AI family to handle intelligence, an art family for creativity. You get the idea. And the really crucial part, every single one has its own feedback loop built right in, so it's always learning and getting better.
But what happens when things go wrong? When an app crashes or a system makes a huge mistake. That's where this really elegant process called the Phoenix loop comes into play. It's a core function that literally turns failure into fuel for growth. It's a four-step dance. The system fails. It records exactly what happened so that data's never lost. It's reborn, kind of like a reboot. And then it evolves based on what it learned from that failure. So a mistake isn't an error. It's actually a feature.
Now you might be sitting there thinking, whoa, this sounds ridiculously complicated just to run like a smart factory. And you'd be totally right. That's why the whole system is designed to be modular. You've got two main flavors. There's the full edition, that's the whole shebang with all the bells and whistles, perfect for massive simulations. But then there's the light edition, or LE. It's a super streamlined, minimal version you can use for one specific task, activating only the parts you actually need. Pretty smart, right?
Okay, so we've got the basics down. Now, this is where things go from a really complex framework to something straight out of science fiction. Let's look at how this whole concept is meant to evolve. And they frame it as a series of software updates, but for reality itself. Yeah, you heard that right.
Just look at the roadmap here. The escalation in ambition is just staggering. Version 1.0, okay, that's the foundation, building the core parts. Version 2.0 adds networking. Pretty standard stuff. But then, look at that jump. Version 3.0 starts talking about managing consciousness and timelines. Version 4.0, the goal is to synthesize brand new realities and laws of physics. And version 5.0, well, that's about infinite recursive self-creation. The scale just explodes.
Just to give you a taste of what we're talking about, a proposed feature for version 3.0 is a parallel timeline orchestrator. I mean, let that sink in for a second. We're not just talking about running a few simulations here. The concept is for a system that can actively manage and orchestrate multiple, coexisting versions of reality. It's a framework for navigating what-if scenarios on a scale that's, well, civilizational.
And then we get to version 4.0, and the ambition just gets even wilder. Get this, a reality and consciousness synthesis engine. So now the system isn't just managing reality anymore. The goal is for it to be able to generate whole new realities, and even consciousness itself, completely from scratch. The system goes from being an organizer to being a creator. And that brings us to the conceptual peak, the absolute mind-bending end goal, the infinite constants mutator. This is it. We are talking about a system that could, in theory, alter the fundamental constants of our universe. Things like the speed of light, the strength of gravity, essentially rewriting the source code of physics itself. It's wow.
Okay. After talking about mutating the laws of physics, let's pull this rocket ship back down to Earth for a minute. What is this really all about? Why is this incredibly deep philosophical dive a potential blueprint for our actual tomorrow?
So here's the most crucial point to get. OntoOmnia is not a program you can go download from some app store. You can't run it on your computer. It's a philosophical tool. It's a shared language, a mental model to help us think about how we design these incredibly complex, adaptive systems for the future.
So why should we care about this abstract idea right now? Well, it actually gives us a new kind of toolbox for some of our biggest challenges. Take AI ethics. This gives us a framework for designing rules that can actually evolve with a superintelligence, not just try to contain it. Or for governance, it's a blueprint for building more transparent, self-correcting systems. But really, the most important thing is that it's a tool for all of us to think more creatively about how humanity and technology are going to co-evolve.
And all of this, the architecture, the insane evolution, the philosophy, it all leads to one final and maybe the most important question of all. In a world that could be defined by systems like this, what's our role in it?
The whole idea is built on this beautiful concept of infinite evolution, right? But it leaves us with this really profound question to chew on. If a system can not only learn, but can rewrite its own fundamental rules over and over, infinitely, then what does progress even mean anymore? What's the destination when the goalposts can literally be moved to a different universe? Definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive.